I could have fought, I could have battled before the divorce from John. But I knew that that wouldn't do any good, because people have their own lives to lead, their own fate. I'm a great fatalist, and John had his life to travel on, and I had my life to travel on. But I couldn't, no, I don't think you can alter the course of fate. I couldn't have altered the course of John's fate.
This seems to be the one question which will always have differing opinions. Although it appears John's affair with Yoko Ono was the catalyst, there are others who claimed his marriage was already over when the Beatles came back from touring. He wanted to do the right thing in marrying Cynthia because she became pregnant. John did have some feelings for her, it is presumed. It's just that kind everything happened at the wrong time for them. He had to marry Cynthia right at the same time the Beatles were reaching their height. It was a juggling act for John, which was quite difficult to do, even under the best of circumstances. Also, their manager Brian Epstein advised the members of the band to present themselves as single guys to their female fans, which they pretty much did.
Did your wife enjoy it over there?
Yeah, she loved it. Who? Shh, don't tell him he's married. It's a secret.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
They had to sell records, and it kind of made sense, in a way, to all of them. The other three Beatles were not yet married. John was the first Beatle to get married. However, Ringo got married about a year later to his longtime sweetheart, Maureen Cox, and they had a child within another year after that. Their marriage wasn't forced though. John wouldn't have married Cynthia if she didn't get pregnant with his child. Lennon himself claimed that he probably wouldn't have married Cynthia if she didn't get pregnant. Cynthia felt very hurt by John's lack of interest in her as his soulmate. He dated her mostly while they were attending art school together. John long resented Cynthia getting pregnant on him. He once said that she refused to use protection and blackmailed him into marrying her. Hence, as the time went on, John began to grow apart from Cynthia and the family. He was hardly ever home, and when he was, his head must have been reeling from all the pressure he had endured while on tour. So Cynthia did care and very much respected that John needed a rest. Cynthia said herself that she came to understand that she and John both wanted different things. He was always looking for something else, something to escape to, and she wasn't. Marriages are hard to keep going, especially when people change. John Lennon experienced an incredible level of change in a short period of time, and their marriage couldn't cope. It's worth remembering that the marriage wasn't built on the firmest of foundations. John was always smitten with Cynthia, but was never faithful. Throughout their relationship he was involved with other women, while being incredibly jealous if she had anything to do with another man. More than anything, their relationship seemed to be based on the fact that she was a posh girl and he was a rough teddy boy type, and they were attracted to each other's differences more than anything else. They only got married because Cynthia fell pregnant and he was essentially left with no option but to marry her. His family didn't like her, and hers didn't like him, but marriage was expected, so they rushed to a registry office, had a quick lunch in a food court afterwards, and then he went off to perform with the Beatles. At the time of their marriage, the Beatles were the biggest band in Liverpool, but unknown everywhere else. John was doing okay financially, but hardly wealthy, and he returned home to the same band most evenings. In a few short years, he was one of the most famous men on the planet. He was staggeringly rich. He had traveled the world and regularly took LSD. Not many people experienced that level of change so quickly, and it would have challenged even the strongest marriage. John and Cynthia's marriage simply wasn't that strong to begin with. In May 1968, John persuaded Cynthia to go on holiday with Magic Alex and his girlfriend Jenny Boyd, unaware that Yoko was moving into John's house in Weybridge. When Cynthia returned from holiday, she found John in bed with Yoko. Now up to this point, John had portrayed Yoko as a bit of stalker who waited for him outside their home, rather like the Scruffs. A distraught Cynthia left with Magic Alex and Jenny back to the London flat. Unbeknown to Cynthia, Alex had agreed to bet her so John could get a divorce without Yoko being named in the proceedings. She and Lennon spent their first night together, making love and making music. They reportedly stayed awake all night. When Cynthia came home that morning from her trip, she found Yoko sitting at the kitchen table in her robe. John introduced them, and later Cynthia said that she knew at that first meeting that Yoko was the one for John. She said that of course she was a little sad, but she knew that John and Yoko were meant to be together. Another factor is that John's relationship with Cynthia had a shallow foundation, because he was mainly interested in Cynthia for her looks, specifically her resemblance to Brigitte Bardot. When John found another woman who shared his intellectual interests in surrealism, experimental art, and peace activism, suddenly John didn't think of Cynthia's looks as reason to stick around. In Yoko Ono, John had found his soulmate, someone who he felt was artistically and intellectually on his own level, maybe even above his own level, and someone he could learn a great deal from. He found in Yoko someone he could relate to in the most important aspects of his life. After Yoko, there was absolutely no way John could relate to Cynthia anymore. She became like the Beatles, his past. John's life was basically in two parts, before Yoko and after. John and Cynthia's marriage had been rocky for a long time, and being in the Beatles, Lennon did not have a lot of time to be a family man or a father. Cynthia wanted family and wanted him home and didn't want the Beatles' life. He fell out of love and found someone that he connected with and could still be a star. Lennon is quoted as saying that he had only met two people in his life he could connect with or feel close to, and that was McCartney and Yoko. That is how he knew Yoko was for him. He felt the same way for her that he felt for McCartney. Sir Paul told Howard Stern in his radio show, John found Yoko. John loved strong women. His mother Julia had been a strong woman. His auntie Mimi, who brought him up, was a strong woman, and bless her, but his first wife Cynthia wasn't. Sir Paul recalled that Cynthia once told him that all she wanted was to wait for John to come home, put on slippers, and stay home, and he said, "Whoa, that's not John." And so John had met up with Yoko, who turned out to be such a strong woman that she was intrusive, invading their sessions, sitting on their recording equipments. Paul said, "There had never been anything like that, and looking back at it, look, the guy's totally in love with her, and you've got to respect that. We did, and I do." John and Cynthia were a great couple. Cynthia was there for John at the most important time of his life and career. She was his biggest supporter, and while John loved Yoko, Cynthia was always in his heart. In 1974, John said, "It was said I never loved Cyn. That's far from the truth. We were young, big-headed, and got into a physical relationship too soon. Perhaps if we took things slow, we would have made it. I know we would have made it."
Hello.
That was Ringo, folks.
Well, what can I say?
And goodbye from all of us.
Well, this is Ringo. Everyone seems to have said everything here, so I'll just sign off by saying cheerio and best of luck from the Beatles.